Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, let's immerse ourselves in a story that strikes at the heart of our emotional understanding and connection to the animal kingdom. Imagine a scene that captivates and tugs at your heartstrings. A small Japanese macaque, tender and vulnerable, clinging desperately to a plush toy. A toy that, in his world, represents perhaps his last link to security and comfort. This scene has not only captured the attention of many around the globe, but has also sparked vital discussions about the lives of animals in captivity and the emotional narratives that unfold within the confines of zoo enclosures. In this fast-moving clip that has resonated with countless viewers across the world, we see a baby Japanese macaque, affectionately known to many as Punche or Punche-kun. In the video, he is seen clutching an orangutan plush toy with a desperate fervor, as if it were a lifeline. The image is instantly relatable and deeply moving. This young macaque, who was rejected by his mother and subsequently hand-raised by zookeepers, finds an unexpected solace in the stuffed animal. Situated at the Ichikawa City Zoological and Botanical Garden in Japan, where Punche resides, this comfort object has become an essential part of his daily routine. In a troop species like the macaques, where social bonds are not just important but crucial, the plush toy serves as a substitute for the warmth, contact, and continuity that Punche would have naturally received from his mother and the troop. As the footage of Punche spread like wildfire across the globe, he became more than just an animal residing in a local zoo. He transformed into a character in an unfolding story that captured hearts and minds. Clips showcasing his isolation and his tentative interactions with other monkeys highlighted his deep attachment to the plush toy. However, a new chapter in this unfolding saga emerged, a chapter that brought a glimmer of hope when Punche began to bond with another young macaque. In these heartwarming scenes, the two young macaques are seen sharing food and sitting close together, which was interpreted by many as an early sign of social integration. This development offered hope to millions of viewers who had grown emotionally invested in Punche's journey. With viral fame, however, also came an increased scrutiny of Punche's living conditions and the overall state of the macaque group at the zoo. Visitors began to question the animals' hair loss and the quality of their environment, which prompted the zoo to publicly address these concerns. The zoo explained that veterinarians had thoroughly assessed the animals and found them to be healthy, attributing the hair loss to overgrooming, a behavior that is fairly common during colder months. Efforts to improve the conditions for the animals were already underway, and the zoo emphasized the importance of careful monitoring of Punche's integration process in order to avoid any unintended consequences. While these surface narratives are compelling in their own right, beneath them lies a more profound story, one that delves into the implications of captivity on an animal's options and how effortlessly our empathy can be channeled into supporting the very system that creates such dilemmas. It's a dual truth that we must grapple with. Punche, as an individual, deserves compassionate care tailored to his current needs, and if a stuffed toy helps him manage stress, it does indeed provide a short-term welfare benefit. Yet the fact that an infant primate clings to a plush replacement rather than its mother's warmth underscores the abnormality and artificial nature of his environment compared to the wild. In the wild, a Japanese macaque infant is enveloped in a dense web of constant contact and shifting protection from the troop. There is the mother's ever-present touch, coupled with the troop's dynamic safety net. This environment allows the infant to retreat, to cling, to explore, and to learn from its surroundings, learning where to be and where not to be through exploration and retreat. While a zoo can provide food, shelter, veterinary care, and even enrichment, it inherently compresses choice. The animal cannot leave of its own volition, it cannot choose its social circle freely, nor can it escape conflict by slipping away into the forest. This compression of choice and freedom is particularly significant for animals whose lives depend on movement and complex social decision-making. For a macaque, social life is not merely a backdrop, it is the very essence and medium through which life unfolds. When a baby macaque is rejected by its mother, the consequences are not merely emotional in a human sense, but are deeply developmental. While keepers may step in to provide human support and enrichment, every substitute offered is also a reminder that the normal pathways of development are unavailable to Punch. The plush toy, while undeniably moving and charming to us humans, symbolizes a system where a baby monkey's most reliable body is a human-designed object intended for domestic use. People who share Punch's footage often do so out of genuine kindness, expressing their hopes for his well-being and rooting for his eventual happiness. However, the platforms on which these stories go viral often prioritize attention over meaning. As a result, a viral, cute story can inadvertently become a form of marketing for captivity. More views can lead to an influx of visitors, more visitors can lead to increased revenue, and with that comes a stronger incentive to continue creating emotionally compelling content, even if it originates from an animal's constrained life. To truly grasp the broader significance of Punch's story, one must consider the scale of zoos and animal parks within our society. These institutions are not confined to a niche market. They represent a global industry deeply embedded in urban and family life across the world. However, defining and counting zoos is more challenging than one might expect due to varying definitions and regulatory oversight. Estimates suggest that there are over 10,000 zoos globally, yet only a small subset of them meets rigorous accreditation standards. Accreditation highlights the gap between the idealized concept of a zoo and the reality of what actually exists. According to the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, AZA, there are 253 accredited facilities across 12 countries, a figure that represents a tiny fraction of the broader universe of places where wild animals are kept and displayed. Public debate around zoos often becomes muddled, as people defending zoos may picture the best examples of them, while critics may focus on the worst. Punch's story doesn't prove that all captivity is identical. Instead, it serves as a poignant reminder that captivity is real, widespread, and an emotionally powerful force, with narratives often guiding public perception more than clear standards and measurable outcomes. In recent decades, governments around the world have increasingly restricted the most visibly entertainment-driven uses of wild animals, particularly in circuses and forms of marine captivity. These legislative moves signal a changing moral baseline, where keeping wild animals primarily for display is no longer automatically acceptable. For instance, the Wild Animals in Circuses Act 2019 in England prohibits the use of wild animals in traveling circuses, with similar laws having been enacted in Scotland and Wales. Marine captivity, too, has faced legal tightening, reflecting a growing concern for the welfare of highly cognitive and wide-ranging species. Canada, for example, passed the Ending the Captivity of Whales and Dolphins Act in 2019, which created specific restrictions related to cetaceans in captivity. Such legislative changes indicate a broader trend toward narrowing the categories of animals kept for display over time. Some countries have taken a different approach by reducing the state's direct involvement in operating zoos. Costa Rica serves as a notable example, having closed its last 2 state-run zoos in 2024 and transferred the animals to a refuge. India has also expressed opposition to dolphinariums, framing dolphins as highly intelligent and sensitive creatures morally unacceptable to keep for entertainment purposes. These examples demonstrate that change is already underway, with laws and official policies moving towards tighter regulations, fewer performances, and greater scrutiny of welfare and purpose. Viral animal stories like Punche's serve as emotional shortcuts, compressing complex welfare and ethics questions into simple feelings of sadness, tenderness, or hope. Punche's story resonates so deeply because it mirrors human attachment narratives, eliciting immediate empathy from viewers. This empathy can be transformative, prompting individuals to ask better questions about animal welfare, transparency, and standards, or it can stabilize the status quo, turning captivity into mere entertainment content where the enclosure becomes a stage for a moving drama. The challenge with this second path is that it confuses coping with thriving. A stuffed toy may help Punch cope, but it is also a sign of deprivation. A baby monkey can be cared for, yet still live in a context where its species-specific needs are fundamentally constrained. A zoo may care for an animal, but it remains part of a global system where many facilities fail to meet even basic welfare standards. When the narrative focuses solely on cuteness, the audience is invited to consume the feeling and move on. When it highlights deeper revelations, the audience is invited to act. Punche's story can take either path, depending on how the public chooses to respond. For those seeking meaningful change, it's essential to separate two often bundled goals: improving welfare for animals already in captivity and reducing future captivity through incentives, laws, and cultural shifts. Both goals are important and require different actions. Improving welfare involves supporting professional standards, demanding transparency in care, and rewarding institutions with measurable outcomes. For Punche, this means carefully managing social dynamics to reduce his reliance on substitute comfort objects over time. Reducing future captivity, on the other hand, focuses on incentives. Captive animal display persists partly because it is profitable. Supporting sanctuaries, accredited institutions, or non-captive alternatives can gradually shift the landscape and determine what survives. Supporting reserves and rehabilitation-focused sanctuaries is a direct way to enact change. True sanctuaries provide lifelong care or rehabilitation for release, while reserves protect habitats, allowing animals to express their evolutionary lives. These approaches require funding, skilled staff, veterinary capacity, and legal protection, aligning human roles with stewardship rather than display. The public can also be a powerful force for change by altering what gets amplified. By sharing Punche's footage with context that addresses welfare questions, engaging in discussions about the differences between zoo categories with children, and supporting policy reforms, individuals can help shift cultural narratives. The idea of replacing cages with technology is not merely science fiction. High-definition remote cameras, wildlife live streams, and conservation technologies already exist. Virtual and augmented reality can deliver immersive experiences that allow the public to observe animals in their natural ecosystems without removing them. Advanced visualization techniques, like holographic displays, can shift public experiences of animals from mere display to genuine observation in their natural environments. A child observing macaques in a real forest learns far more about their natural behaviors than one who sees a single macaque in an enclosure. The crucial point is in directing revenue towards habitat protection, anti-poaching efforts, and wildlife rehabilitation, ensuring that technology supports protection rather than entertainment. In Punche's case, a happy ending would mean his full integration into the troupe, rendering the plush toy unnecessary. While this outcome would be positive for Punche, it leaves larger, more pressing questions intact. Punche's fame arose not because he is the only baby monkey in captivity, nor because rejection and stress are rare occurrences, but because a moment of coping appeared as human-like tenderness. The plushie allowed people to see him as a subject, not just an exhibit. This perception shift is valuable, offering a lever for change if used to ask harder questions about the system. If the story remains merely cute, it will fade like all viral stories do, leaving the cage as the background assumption. If it becomes instructive, it can contribute to a cultural shift where wild animals are not props and captivity must be justified by clear purpose and high welfare standards. In a future shaped by this shift, viral wildlife moments might focus on animals within their protected habitats, captured with technology that leaves them where they belong. Such stories could highlight rescued animals living with space, privacy, and agency, teaching us that the most powerful way to love wild animals is to stop building our sense of wonder on their captivity.